Okay, so you may also wonder how can we use this not null in declaring attributes in creating a table. So we can show an example for you. Now here we create a table for drinker, right? It's the same for the example we showed in slides. So inside this table creation, we are declaring 3 attributes for table: name, address, and phone number. Name is the primary key. We know it can never be null, right? According to the primary key, these keywords. And we also have address. This address has a default value, 123 Monroe Street, and we have a phone number. Let's assume in the case that when we are creating the table, we set this phone number to be not a null. We never allow the drinker to provide a null phone number in the tables. We can declare this one as not a null after this attribute. In this way, whenever we are entering data into the drinker's table, we should always provide a valid phone number for the drinkers into the tables. We can never provide a null value for this entry, right? We can use this not a null by adding this not a null to a attribute declaration after it. It's very easy, right? Okay, let's come back to the slides. So in this page, we'll provide some more examples for the not a null and the default for you. And let's assume we have created a table for drinkers already, and next we plan to insert some data tuples into it. So we didn't mention how to insert data into a table, right? And in this page, we show an example. So let's assume we insert the fact that the Sunny is a drinker, but we don't know her address or her phone number. And we just want to insert Sunny as a drinker, right? And we're going to do the insert of data into some tables by following the code as shown here. Insert into this is a table name, drinker, right? And with some values. Here we assume we only know the name of the drinker, right? If so, then we can just specify the attribute we want to insert. We know this Sunny is for drinker name, right? It's for drinker name. So let's first assume that we're following the table creation like this. We don't have any specification for the phone number, and we have a default for the address. If we insert the Sunny into this drinker's table, if so, according to the table creation, that we know the name for the drinker will be Sunny, and for her address, since we didn't specify any values for the address, according to table creation, we have a default value for the address. It is 123 Monroe Street, right? Then we can insert this 123 Monroe Street into the address entry for this Sunny's data tuple. And we didn't provide the phone number either. Therefore, we will have a null value for the phone number because we didn't specify her phone numbers, right? By following the table created in the previous page, like this one, and we do the insert, then we can get a new data tuple, which is shown here: Sunny, 123 Monroe Street, now. And let's assume if we have a different drinker table creation and something like this. So we have a difference which is for the phone number, right? For the phone number, we have an extra keyword, not a null. We do not allow any null value for its entry in creating this table, right? And the remaining will be very similar to the page, to the table we showed in the slides. If we follow this table creation, if we follow this table and we do the insert of Sunny into the drinker's table for the name, right? If so, since we didn't specify the address, it will also have the default address, right? However, for the phone number, we didn't specify the phone numbers. And we also declare this phone number to be not a null, right? If so, then this insertion will be rejected by the system automatically because we don't know the phone number. We also declare this phone number to be not a null in creating the table, right? So this insertion will be rejected automatically by the system. Then how can we insert this data tuples with both name as well as phone number? We're going to do so in a very similar way. Let's assume we want to insert another data tuple into the table as declared here. We're going to do so by writing some code like this. Insert into drinkers, values, here we use Sandy. Let's assume we have another person name like John, right? John, and here since we only have one single attribute, because for the table creation, right, the drinker, we have 3 attributes. They're all the Charles, and if we only provide John here, the system we don't know which attribute we are assigning this John to, right? Therefore, we have to declare the attributes for the John, right? And we are assigning this John to a name, the name attribute. And besides the name attribute, we also give a default. We also give a phone number, 123 324 and 3456, right? And we also give a phone number. This is not a string, right? And we don't want to assign these numbers to the address. Therefore, we also need to declare we are assigning these numbers to the phone number. And in this way, we are able to insert a new data table into the table, right? So the table will be like this. We have name is John, right? The phone number is 123, and the number is right before. In this example, we didn't declare the address neither, right? Therefore, if we do the insertion like this, the system will also generate a default address for the person, right? So therefore, we will have a new data table, John, 123 Maroon Street, and the number is 123 234 456, something like that. Right? Okay, so this is another data table inserted into the table. And you might wonder, do we really have to always declare these attributes? The answer is no, actually. If we provide all the default values, if so, let's assume we provide another person, right? Now Lucy. We provide another number, 980, and some other numbers, 567, and some other number 1, 2, 3, 4. If we insert another data table into a table, we provide all the attributes. Now her address is 234 Tennessee Street, right? One way to insert this data table into a table is to declare all the attributes. We have a name, we have an address, we have a phone number, right? We have these 3 attributes. We know they correspond to the drinkers, right? We can insert the data table into the table by declaring all these 3 address names here. One corresponds to each one, right? Lucy corresponds to name, 234 Tennessee Street corresponds to address, and this string denotes the phone numbers. We can insert in this way, and sometimes we know that the order is correct. It's name, address, and phone number, right? If so, then we can delete its parentheses as well as attributes. We insert into the drinkers table with some values, Lucy, and 234 Tennessee Street, and a string and a phone number. In the system, we know this is the name, this is the address, this is the phone number. If we insert data in this way, we need to make sure the order of these values is very important. You should follow the same order as the table: name, address, phone number, name, address, and phone number, right? This is important. So normally I prefer to declare the attributes because sometimes we may make some mistakes. We may insert the drinkers table. We can maybe exchange the position of these 2 strings. If so, then the system will make a mistake. It will assign this string as the address and this string as the phone number. It will be a mistake, right? So normally I prefer to highlight the corresponding attributes of these value entries. Like here, if we insert in this way, we can still do the insertion. We can declare this one as a name, this one as a phone number, this one as the address. Either way, still assign the correct value to corresponding attributes, right? So my suggestion for you is to declare the attributes for your data insertion. It can avoid some very strange mistakes. And you will know what I mean when you are doing your project, because you will always find some very weird things happens when you are doing the projects for the first time. So try to declare the attributes when doing data insertion. Okay, so let's come back to the slides.